Hey guys, it's LSuperSonicQ and welcome to section 2 of the June month of drawings video series. This section I'm going to show off the drawings that I made in the art class that I took from this past school year, 2012-2013. But before I do that, I want to show off this one binder picture that wasn't in the last part, and it's Darkrai. It probably wasn't in the last part because of how good it is. This could be one of the best, if not the best, binder picture simply because of the amount of time I took on this. I spent an entire class period drawing this picture because we weren't doing anything that day and I didn't have any homework to do, so I thought, why not draw? And for just using a pen, I'm pretty surprised and happy with the amount of different kind of, coloring techniques, different shading, the variations of the white, black, and gray that I was able to maintain. So for what it is, it's a really nice kind of black and white sketch picture. I really like it. So I just wanted to show that off because I thought it was worth showing off. Alright, now we're going to get into the projects that I did in the art class that I took this past school year. The first two are clay projects, so let me explain the type of clay we use, because it's obviously not Sculpey, which I've been very oriented with. This was gray and red clay, which after you're done sculpting it, you have to let it kind of air dry. And after it air dries, you put it into the kiln to bake. It gets hard, it comes out of the kiln, and you have to paint it with glazes. Or I guess you can paint it with acrylics, but it's preferred that you use glazes, because you paint them with the glazes, you put it back in the kiln, and it comes out, and you can get some really nice, I guess, shiny, metallic looking glazes, some really vibrant colors. So these first two projects represent that. The first project specifically was to design a shaker, kind of like a maraca, I guess. And I really wanted to be, like everything in this art class, really inventive, really kind of thinking out of the box. So rather than doing a simple shape or a generic shape, I first thought of different characters I could kind of base it off of. Obviously, the first thing I thought of was Sonic. But, however, I thought, like a shaker of Sonic's head, that's not really inventive enough. So I went a little bit farther. I thought about something that when you hold the shaker, you're either like representing a character or, you're kind of doing what the character would do. An example of that was Samba de Amigo and, his maraca. I thought about doing that, but I didn't think that was, far out there enough. I'm like, that he has a maraca, so it's a maraca. I need something that's, isn't a maraca, but that I can turn into one. So then it hit me, no questions asked. Once I thought of this, I'm like, this is what I'm going with. And that happened to be Green Day's American Idiot Heart Hand Grenade. I thought this was a great idea to do, so I took it and ran with it. The sculpt essentially was pretty easy. I mean, I don't really know how I'm going to critique myself about the sculpting, other than what I did have to do was kind of carve in these lines and kind of raise the red surface a little bit, just so it had that depth to it. But it actually does shake, and I think it ended up not shaking at first because the way we assembled it was we made a half, kind of put it together at the seam, and then what we had to do was we put in these small little like pellets, and we had to put them on some, I believe it was just kind of like paper towels, because the heat would kind of burn the paper towels away, but it would leave, the little pellets to shake around without getting stuck to the inside. And I think mine didn't work at first actually, but then over time I think they got loose and now it works. But aside from that, yeah, there's the sculpt and stuff, and it's a really nice, vibrant red to talk about the paint color. I'm glad that I was able to use that red. My art teacher told us that the more vibrant colors, like red and stuff, were actually, like, toxic, so you couldn't eat from them. However, this red that I used actually was not toxic. I wouldn't have used it if it was, but I'm kind of glad that I found a non-toxic red, because based on that, I was kind of iffy if I was able to use red. However, the top here, that's not a typical pull pin, it's actually a little seal, because we had to make a little, I guess, nod to the animal we chose for another project, which is actually the next one I'm going to talk about, and I thought this was a creative way to kind of put my animal in there, especially without making it too blatant and taking away from the Green Day appearance, because I didn't want, a huge, like, seal face right there, I wanted to keep the Green Day, and I had to put that little nod to my animal in there, so overall, a nice looking piece. Alright, so as I said, well, that was Project 1, this is Project 2, and as I said, I chose a seal for the next project. We had to choose an animal and sculpt a piece that was functional and decorative. So I thought, what better thing to sculpt that would achieve those two requirements than a cookie jar? out of it, you know, a seal cookie jar pretty much. So yeah, that's what I decided to do. And overall, the sculpt was pretty easy. In the technical sense, though, I did have a little bit of trouble with making sure that the head would stay on, that kind of the connection between the body and the neck didn't look too awkward, and that the top here and the circle would support itself and it wouldn't collapse, and that it was deep enough so you could actually put cookies in there. And that all works pretty well, so I'm pretty pleased with the technical aspect. And in terms of the decorative, kind of how does this look like a seal, I think it did a pretty good job. I definitely like how I sculpted the head. That wasn't too hard of a challenge. And the phone rang. It's a real video now. The phone rang and interrupted me. So I like how I made the seal head, like I was saying. The phone, now I'm distracted. Yeah. Overall, it wasn't too hard. The body, however, like I said, I had to reshape a couple times. But for what it is, it was a pretty easy sculpt. However, the paint is the only thing I would critique myself about, because as I was glazing it at first, what happened was it was a really nice brown. I wanted to go with a brown rather than a white seal. I thought it would just look better that way. So I was glazing it. It was a really nice brown. I liked it. And then after it came out of the kiln, I was a little bit surprised with how the brown kind of had that shine to it, and it was more like dark brown and kind of metallic. I wasn't really expecting that. And in certain areas, especially right here, you can kind of see the variation, even though I thought I evenly coated the whole thing. Regardless, it's still a nice little seal cookie jar. However, trying to end this, even though I thought of another thought, the only problem really is that the, no pun intended, the seal between, you know, the inside of the body and the neck and stuff, to keep the cookies fresh, it's not very airtight, so air gets in there and the cookies go stale after like a couple days. But what are you gonna do? It's still a nice decorative piece, and I like it. Well, so I don't keep this video too long, I would rather end it there rather than mess up again and then feel like I have to, you know, I don't know. I'd rather just keep it a little bit shorter. We made good progress, and in the next video, I guess it kind of ended, or the next part, and it actually kind of ended nicely because I got through the sculptures. Now I have the artwork to show. So thanks for watching, guys, and stick around for part 2.